Good morning, y'all. Wiggle here. It's a follow-up on my solar powered water system off grid. I'm just going to answer some of the frequently asked questions. It's early to mid-September on a Monday morning. Here's my deep well. It is like 200 to 300 feet deep, but the important part is that we have a layer of rock 40 feet down. We're up on a ridge here, and they punched through the rock at 40 feet, and then they went through however deep it was, and then they're hitting the water table underneath. So my deep well is pretty deep, but my static water level is about 19 to 20 feet. The water's pushing up through the water table, up my casing. The casing is sealed to the rock. It's basically a straw. They just push it down there until it hits the rock, and they dump a bunch of concrete down around it, cement around it, and it seals the casing to the rock face. So all the water coming up out of there, it's thousands of years old. The groundwater is a whole different thing. Groundwater is basically surface water. So you have the just regular surface water, then you have the aquifer underneath the rock. That's how it is here. So it's a pretty good setup. The water's pretty clean. So again, a detail, my AC pump, which is not turned on, is 92 feet down, and this the solar DC pump is about 46 feet down. So it's got like 25 feet of water over it, and it's not running on a whole lot of amps. I know it's probably 3 to 4 amps, and we'll be hitting the sun on our panel soon. So that was that question. Now the AC water coming out of the bottom of that well was always cool and nice to drink. You know, you let it run through your pipe for a minute, it gets cool. I don't have that pleasure when it's hitting this big tank. It tanks on more than ambient air temperature. So the water is warmer coming into the house, and it doesn't cool off much. But it's still just sweet, tastes the same. Just a brief announcement. This is a DC deep freezer, the largest one they have on the market. It's a monster. So I'm going to be doing this project. If you want to stay tuned, I'll show you how I get this dude hooked up on solar. It's Amish built. Again, no brand name until I have a reason to give it. So I'm going to just share that. Right now it's inside my deep freezer or my meat locker, you know, to hang meat and age it. That project's coming up before winter as well. So if you're interested, stay tuned to that. So as I'm walking over to the tank, I've been asked about the pump model and brand and all that. I don't want to give it for several reasons. The simple, not as important reason is I don't want to give free advertising to a company. They make me pay for the product. Unless I really have a reason to, I'm not going to share the name and where to get it. And I know that's not helpful, but do some research. It's part of it. Nobody helped me, so find what you think is right for you and get it. I don't want to recommend something that's not going to work. And this is a very important thing, is getting your off-grid water going. It is critical. And I don't want to be responsible for giving you a brand name and the thing doesn't work out. Now your water is not working and your family and your loved ones don't have water. Not on me. I'm not giving you a brand name. When I see the reliability, I will be glad to share. But I'm just not going to give out the name. If you know of a good brand that you have, please share it. That's great. My DC pump, kicking on pressure pump. I'm just not going to give the brand names, but the deep well pump was $600 with shipping. Probably gone up by now because that was a few months ago. And it's American made. It has replacement parts, all of which they have Chinese ones that you can get. I suggest getting the lower volume pump because the one they're going to sell you, the Grundfos, you know, you call the solar company, it's like $2,500, and it's going to take like 4 panels or more depending. And you got to have battery backup, blah blah blah. It's going to cost you a fortune. It's going to cost you a mint just for the pump. The point of what I want you to know is there is a better way to do it. You can get these lower price pumps, but get a good quality one. Don't get junk. If you're going to get junk, you better get a couple of them because you're going to be counting on that thing. The 24 volt DC pressure pump is way easier to find. You can find all kinds of 12 volt, 24 volt, and even other higher volt DC pumps. Not hard to find those. They're not going to last you a decade more than likely, no matter what you buy. The biggest point is make sure they have enough power and make sure they have filtered water coming in. They do not tolerate trash. And the more expensive they are, the wimpier they are when they get garbage in them. So you can get these things, I think you could probably find 50, 60 bucks. But I don't know how long it's going to last you. The thing about this one is it has an interior pressure pump. It's factory set at 30 to 60 psi. You don't have to have that, but I paid more for this one because I wanted $130 or whatever. I wanted to have that pressure switch kick on and off, so I don't have to have a pressure tank. Again, I do use a pressure tank, but you don't have to have a pressure tank with that. Other ones are just going to run. They got to have a switch, something to turn them on and off. What is that going to be? You're going to have to get a separate pressure switch and all of that. The delivery pump is not really the hard part. The harder part is finding a good solar pump and deep well pump, and those are expensive. You may not even need to go down. You may not have a deep well. I was asked how much my deep well cost. It was like $5,000 to $6,000, but this was 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And we got a small outfit to come out, and they did the fractured well where they dropped the heavy bit and just crushed their way through everything. It wasn't actually drilled, it was fractured well, which is better because it creates stress cracks in the rock, and it doesn't fill them up with all the millings or the cuttings from the drill bit. It doesn't push them back in the water veins and all that. They say it's better, but it's expensive now. But here they're only drilling through clay until they hit rock. They push through the rock and then they're down, and it's a mixture of sand, gravel, and rock. It's just different media down deep. It's not hard to drill here, and water's pretty reliable. In other places it's hit or miss, and you can spend $20,000 drilling a hole. I can't really give advice on that. Just check with people that either have wells or a reputable outfit that drills, and just get a lot of references and just ask a lot of questions, and you'll find the right guys to do the job. But you have to do your due diligence. Don't just open the phone book and get the first guy. You're gonna might regret that. So a lot of my questions are based on this tank. I cannot recommend the people I bought it from. They're horrible. It took forever to get it. No communication, zero customer service. Just the worst ever to deal with. And then the questionable outfit to deliver this thing on these tanks. Now, I want you to understand this. I paid $13.50 for this and $8.50 shipping. It's $2,100. You're not going to get one for that now. The thing is to find a local source. Do your online research, look in the phone books. Find the shipping is what kills you on these things. The shipping is just, unless you can go pick it up. And I suggest if you can go pick it up, these are not very heavy. Drive and pick it up, you'll save a ton of money. What you definitely want is drinking water rated. You don't want anything else. Get drinking water rated. They're going to have a UV protection on the outside to keep the sun from drying out and ruining it. And they don't grow algae because they're designed to not let light in. If you get something not designed for drinking water, you're going to get algae. Everybody's asking me about the algae and the bacteria. Okay, no light equals no algae. Now bacteria, I have to ask, why is my tank going to grow bacteria? If my tank remains clean, there's no dirt, I have filters everywhere, nothing getting in there, no foreign substances, no bugs, no dust. It's a sealed system. It does have a vent, so it doesn't create suction, but it stays clean. How are you going to get bacteria if you don't have algae growing? I've had algae grow. I've had 400 or 500 gallon tanks that I would collect rainwater in, and those things got algae in them like crazy. And they were blue tanks, but they weren't made for water. They were just general storage tanks. And it was a mess. It is a problem. You will get algae. You buy those IBC totes, they're cheap for a reason. You're going to get algae in them. You might be able to paint them, you might be able to shade them, and go ahead. Have fun with that. I suggest, instead of spending $2,500 on a pump, spend $2,500 on a tank. And once you have that full, you have water. I've been asked, How long will a family of 5 live on 3,000 gallons? From the research that I did, it's well over a year if you're not trying to wash in it, bathe. If you're just cooking and drinking, but there's all kinds of calculators. But my point would be is if 3,000 gallons cannot last a family of 5 a year, you guys ain't storing enough water in bottles and totes and all. You don't have enough water. That's a problem. I'm pretty confident that 3,000 gallons will last us. If everything breaks, everything goes down, I have no way to pump or move water, I will drink out of this, and yeah, the water will probably get stale if it sits there for a year. It's not going to get algae on it. I don't think it's going to get bacteria, but I have ceramic filters. You know, you can get the Berkey, you can get the Katadyn, you can get Sawyer. There's all different ways to filter water. I got some generic ones years ago. I have ceramic filters. My water's going to be fine, even if I don't treat this. I don't want chemicals and no bleach, none of that. I don't see the need for it. I don't see the need to be afraid of bacteria, in my experience, but that's limited so far. If bacteria is a problem, then I'll let you know. But I'm not worried about bacteria or algae with this tank. Certified drinking, a big question I get, I'm in zone 7. Yes, this will freeze. Yes, this will freeze. All that's gonna freeze. This is all more of a temporary setup. I'm at just right. It's taking up a lot of room, sprawling out. I just want to get it working. I am going to wrap this thing in 2-inch, which is R10 something, 10.3 or something. The 2-inch styrofoam board, and not it's the pink stuff. There's other colors, but it's the stuff that you can get below grade. It won't hurt it. I forget which one it is. EPS, I think. Anyway, I'm going to cut it into strips. I'm going to figure my circumference, cut it into strips, and then I'm going to band it with a heavy-duty strap like you would use on lumber. You get the bundles of lumber, they got those metal straps. I'm going to strap the insulation on, and I'm going to have uprights between it. 2-inch white oak boards that I cut on my sawmill, like just 1.5 by 2 or whatever, also sandwiched in there. And then I'm going to put the metal band around, and then I'm going to get corrugated metal, the cheap stuff. I'm going to stand it up this way and it'll bend on bias. So I'm just going to wrap it and it's going to look like a silo. And I have these old chicken brooders that I'm going to take apart. They're galvanized and I'm going to make a nice roof out of it. It's going to look like a silo. So it will be even more protected from the sunlight because it's going to be wrapped in metal. And then I'll just make a little well house right here to protect that plumbing. Do I see water dripping? I sure do. Oh, that's just a cobweb glinting in the sun. I was like, water? What? So this will give me R10 blanket around this thing. Plus it'll help protect it from UV. And I will make a roof hatch that pops open so I can get into that tank. And I have to get this done before probably end of November. I've heard from people that have these inside uninsulated buildings and so forth, and the solar mass does, or the thermal mass, I'm sorry, does make a difference. That's a lot of water to freeze. Around here, a lot of years our pond won't even freeze over completely. We might get some ice around the edges. We don't get that level of cold. I could probably leave this thing out here, as long as I didn't leave it full, but I'm not gonna take that chance. I'm gonna wrap that dude up and make sure it stays nice and toasty in there. But I think just the thermal mass of the water coming out of the ground at, you know, around 50 degrees, whatever it would be, I think we'll be okay. But I'm going to watch it on the really cold days to make sure the top's not icing over, because I don't want to crack this thing. It is designed to have some head space at the top, so if there is a little ice and it pushes up, I don't know if it'll hurt this. And this is fairly flexible. My water on my gutters, my rainwater collection, 300 or 400 gallons, whatever those were, 500 gallons, those never froze or broke. So I never had that problem, but I'm not taking it a chance. Now I have a suggestion for people in much colder climates than 7. You know, you get, even in 6, you probably want to do a little more. Put them inside a greenhouse. Build a structure, have an insulated wall in the back, insulated room in the back, and then bring your glazing off of that. And then you would have solar mass in your greenhouse, now you're getting double duty out of that water. Or you can get a couple tanks and you can use the water to keep, it's working hand in hand. You're keeping your greenhouse warmer and then you're keeping your water safe. Inside of a greenhouse, I have no doubt that this would never be a problem, but I wanted to get it on the highest part of the land, so I had to put it right here in this area, and I just did the best. I did have somebody mention something about utility easement, so I think I was out of the way. I didn't ask permission. This is on my land. It's their stupid pole. I'm gonna put things where I want, and if they don't like it, they're gonna have to deal with it. I'm gonna ask them to get rid of their poles at some point anyway, so the utility easement is not my problem. It's like, take your garbage off my land. I don't want it. So I'm not worried about the easement. If they hassle me, I'll tell them to just take their stuff and leave. Then I'll be forced to deal with no electric sooner. So the algae, the bacteria, water temperature, this obviously warms up more than the well water. What else was? Again, the brand names, not gonna mention that. So let me pause this. Well, the only other thing I could think of is the swirl filter I got on the river. Hate that place, and I got the float valve, same place. It was suggested to build this on a platform, and it's like, I'm not going to put 8 pounds times 3,000, 24,000 pounds. I'm not going to put it up on its platform just to get a little bit more pressure. It does help, yes, but I want this firmly set on the ground. I don't want to have a collapse. We've had an earthquake here before. I don't want to try to build a structure that holds that. You have to do it out of steel if you want to do it right, if you ask me. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. This is not the only way to do it. This is what I came up with for what I need, and it may or may not work for you. Again, if you have questions, let me know. I will try to answer them. And I hope you're doing something about your water. Nothing is for sure these days. So I just thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day.